I've yet to come across a CEO that complained about having a CTO or VP of engineering that was too proactive, that took too much of an initiative. It's not the sort of problem that I think you need to be worried about. Instead, what I see all the time is this mismatch between the CTOs and the CEOs of what's expected, what you can do. And oftentimes, due to a lack of proper boundaries, understanding what's expected, understanding what success would be considered, a lot of the people end up not doing as much as they would like to do, and many CEOs end up feeling a lot more frustrated than they ought to be. In this video, we'll talk about what we call in Hebrew being a big head, and that's a good thing. How you can become a lot more proactive as a tech leader and ensure that you'll blow away everyone around seeing you and saying, oh, so that's what a CTO is supposed to be like. This is all based on true stories and true successes that I've seen with my clients, and I think you can see how very quickly you can use the tactics I'll cover to start becoming a much more active, but also a much more self-fulfilled leader very quickly, very rapidly. And this is a win-win-win. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about you gaining some momentum in the company. We're talking about doing something that everyone will be pleased about. So this is you doing good for you and for the rest of the company. By the way, if you're new here, hi, I'm Aviv Ben-Yosef. I'm a tech executive, coach, and consultant. I help people create tech teams worth leading, because that's too short to lead a mediocre team. But in this video, we're not going to be touching your team. We're going to be focusing on you and your mindset, because this is a baseline for any good team. If the CTO is capped in their thinking, the rest of the team usually cannot get any much better. So let's talk about what you can do. And I want to start with a quick story. I was working with a CEO that was constantly complaining about the fact that his VP of engineering was not being proactive enough, was not just taking the initiative. He felt like the VP of engineering always was ready to help. It was very reactive. If you said, this is a problem, we need to address that, the VP of engineering just ran towards the issue, no problem whatsoever. But the CEO felt like he always had to be the one doing the prodding. He always had to be on the lookout for where ought I utilize the VP of engineering more. That's, of course, better than someone that even when you tell them what to do aren't working well. But it's close, but not there, not 100% what he was looking for. And when I talked to the VP of engineering, you know what I realized? This person was just on edge to really help out, to do more, but felt like they didn't want to step on anyone's toes, didn't want to overstep, didn't want to do anything that might seem to others like they were exaggerating, etc. So he was always waiting to get any extra ability, any extra request to help out with anything. And once that arrived, he just ran towards it. But he did not understand that actually he had a lot more autonomy, a lot more freedom to do things, because as far as the CEO is concerned, this is actually an amazing thing to happen. So this lack of clear boundaries and bad communication is a repeating theme. And I'll tell you that essentially no one, again, as I said in the beginning, would lament having an executive, any executive in a company that's actually taking more initiative, being proactive. Especially not the person in charge of the tech organization in a tech company. And therefore, in this video, we'll quickly cover a few of the things that I think can really help you get there. And you'll feel more fulfilled, and everyone around will also be happier. First of all, let's talk about big head. And I know that in English that might be a bad thing. But in Hebrew, when we say Rosh Gadol, we mean that someone is not, having a Rosh Katan, having a small head, means that you're not, you're just doing your part. If you're told to do something, you're going to do just that. You're not going to look left and right and see, okay, is there anything extra I can do? You can, to give you a simple example, it would be the person working at a restaurant, a waiter that just goes directly to give the meal to whoever now I'm serving it, but doesn't look to the sides to see if maybe anyone else here is waiting to call on you. Like, unless you almost physically tackle the waiter, they're never gonna notice you because they're just doing what they need to and going back. The person that waits to be told exactly what to do, and in the meantime, if there's nothing to do actively, they won't mop around, do some extra work, come and see if anyone needs some extra help, but they just sit there and wait to be told exactly what they need to do. That's a small head. A big head is the person that's proactive, that's always looking for what to do, that speaks up, that's involved, that's sprightly, someone who's alive, someone who you feel like their energy buzzing because they're trying to find a way to do things, and when they have an opportunity to do something, they're excited about it. And of course, I'm not saying that you should have all the time in the world. People should expect you to be able to take on whatever is requested, never sleep. Of course, I know that you're probably overwhelmed as is. But the difference here is that if you're aware of this and if you want to cultivate this big head thinking, you'll see two things happening. One, at least some of the things you'll be able to do. You'll be able to take on some initiatives that will help and you'll feel good about, and you'll find the time to make those happen. But second, being aware of this means that you'll be able to drive the same sort of culture within your organizations. Cultivate these big heads all throughout your team, so that it's not that you have to take on the entire burden by yourself, but your management team, the seniors in your organization, all of them slowly will start being able to help you. A big head here is about creating these broad shoulders that people can rely on, and knowing that people will step in if there's an issue, that they'll look to the sides and see if anything's missing, if anything has been misplaced, anything has fallen off the track, and we can put it back in. We're not about having these people who don't understand anything and are only waiting to get an order to fill it. One geeky example I always use, and maybe too much, is that in the Silmarillion, if you know that from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings world, he talks about how the dwarves were created, and because they were not created by the one true God, LOTR, at the beginning, but by one of the Vala, who are not as cool, the dwarves were not really autonomous at the beginning. If that sub-god that created them was not paying attention to them, they essentially turned into statues until he was interested in them again. That's what a lot of executives are doing. If they're not told exactly what to do, they're just sitting there or just continuing on autopilot. And what you want are autonomous beings. That's what you want to be. Someone that can look around, see an opportunity, and seize it, because life's too short not to do that. And now let's go over a few of the tactics, the few mindset changes that I often work on with my clients, because I see what a tremendous impact it has and how much it makes people feel better about the work. Again, the win-win sort of thinking that we want to cultivate here. The first tactic is understanding that you can open your mouth. It's not that hard. But what you want to do is not just open it, but as you open it, make sounds that help you question things. If there's something that you don't understand, if you hear something that's odd, if you have you wonder about something, voice that concern. Use your mouth and speak. As easy as that. Too many people don't do that. You just assume that someone else has already thought about it, or you would be stupid to ask it, etc. But I think that we need to lower our common sense filter. I've got a video solely about that, and it'll probably be here somewhere on screen. But the concept is that a lot of times we filter ourselves. We don't ask the question. We don't poke. And if you do it from the right point of view, because you want to learn, because you want to make sure that you understand, not because you're some pedantic, annoying person sitting in the room and trying to turn every discussion into a nightmare, but because you want to understand, you want to make sure that it makes sense, you want to make sure that there's nothing that you're missing. Realize that you have a valid opinion and you're a genuine part of the executive team. If there's something that is being discussed and you don't understand, you deserve to understand it. And even more so, if it's not clear to you, it just might be that this clarification will help not just you, but other people in the room. So speak up, ask questions. When you do that, all of a sudden you're turning into an active part of the discussion, and that's crucial. This little thing is the difference between a glorified manager that's just sitting there in the room and waiting to be told what to do, and someone that is an active participant, even if we're not yet talking about you doing anything even more proactive. We're going to get to that in a second. Tactic number 2, now we're going to get active. Bring up your own initiatives. This is about being proactive. If you notice that something is happening and you have an idea, you notice an opportunity, you sense that something can happen, and you're telling yourself, okay, this is interesting. I'm actually excited about that. You know what you can do? Just get to it. Start acting. Go to the CEO, go to the executive team and say, hey, here's something that I think we can do. Here's where I think it can be a success. And I can take the initiative on it. I can be in charge of this. So you're not just, throwing up suggestions into the room and people are like, oh yeah, another thing, as if we were in need of another project, as if I don't have enough things on my plate anyway. Be the person stepping in with your plate and saying, hey, I think this would be amazing and I've got some room over here. Would you like me to be in charge of that? Now, that's the sort of suggestion that a lot of people will find hard to say no to. So what you want to do is notice when there's an opportunity that you're excited about, that you're a good fit to lead, and not just be waiting for other people to understand that this might be a good idea, but you're going to speak up, and even more so, you're going to come up and say, here's something that we can do, and I am willing to lead it. I am willing to take on the extra bandwidth of ensuring that this moves forward. It doesn't mean that you have to be doing it all by yourself, but a lot of the times we know that the missing crucial part is proper executive attention for these things, because otherwise so many initiatives just die very quickly. So if you're willing to do that and you have the accountability to ensure that it actually happens, you've got a golden opportunity here to start moving things forward, start gaining traction, and starting to become a valuable and very proactive part of the executive team. And another tactic is extreme ownership. I didn't come up with this idea. You probably heard about it in the past, but the concept is to stop thinking that, that's not my problem, that's not in my department, that's Joe's issue. No, stop thinking about, okay, what falls squarely within my boundaries, and that's solely what I'm going to be focusing on. But instead, again, the big head mentality, if you want to have a Rosh Gadol, you have to look to the sides and say, okay, what can I do here? How can I help? What can be my part here? This proactivity is about not trying to minimize what you can do, not trying to solely do those things to which you're contractually obligated to do, but trying to find opportunities where you can help, seeing that someone needs some help, seeing that maybe you can lend a hand, and being there. Caring about things, seeing that your peers in the executive team need some help, and being there for them, even if that's not your job. This is what being a proactive leader is all about. This is what being a leader is all about. I mean, how can you even be a leader if you don't do it like that? And I think that once we notice that this is a possibility, and we understand that this is something that we can do, that's, for many of the bright and amazing leaders I've worked with, that's all that it takes. A lot of times we're just sitting there and we're not even realizing it, but we're waiting for permission to be there. We're waiting for permission for someone to tell us, hey, it's perfectly fine for you to help, for you to be involved, for you to start suggesting what to do. And usually people are not going to come to you with that permission. I want you to assume the permission. Assume that you already have it. And it's probably going to be fine. And if you need an excuse, you can just say, hey, Aviv told me to do that. Aviv gave me permission. That's, I'm willing to take the blame. But I think that once we do that, you'll see things change so quickly. This is something that I've seen repeatedly working with startups, where a VP of engineering or a CTO just needed a little prod, and all of a sudden things changed like magic. Because you know what? You're probably very motivated, you're very clever, you know a lot of things, you learn fast, you you're an excited person, you're a geek a bit, at least a bit, and that usually means that you have some extra spice that you can look at things, be it in marketing, be it in sales. That's different than the way those people already are looking at it, and therefore you have some extra things you can add there. And having that thing, having that extra take, the different way of looking at things, and being present, looking at it with the extreme ownership sort of mentality, means that you can make things happen. And you can become, my friend, an amazing proactive leader. Someone with a big enough of a head that others can rely on, that the CEO knows that person is always going to be there. I can count on them. I know that if they come up with an idea, it's probably worth listening to it. And I know that they're not thinking about themselves. I know that they're looking for a way to help and benefit all of us all around. That's the win-win-win mentality that I think is probably the only way for us to live our lives. We're so privileged to be working in an industry where we can do these amazing things and we can pick what we want to be doing. Choose to be the sort of leader that's proactive, that's present, that's mindful, that's always waiting to jump at an opportunity and make amazing things happen. Be remarkable. I know you can. Okay, I don't want to come off too cliche, and this is not to Tony Robbins you up, but this is what I see, plain CTOs doing. You don't need to be anyone, Forbes, 10 under 10 or something like that to be able to do amazing things. You can do it, my friend, and it just requires maybe some mental adjustments in working on these tactics. And if you need some extra help getting there, my email's in the video description. But I'm sure you can have some amazing results and faster than you even assume. That's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, just let me know. I'll be happy to help. And if you like this, please like and subscribe. It helps me. And I'll see you here in the next video. Ciao.